I thought I'd start first with Australia before going into how Australia might respond to these specific issues of the conflicts in the Middle East and what's happening with AI. And, I think the reason a lot of you, especially the global investors, are here in the room is Australia is considered a good market to invest in. It's a very strong, stable, secure market. We have a functioning democracy. We have strong rule of law. We have good separation of powers. But in addition to that, in terms of the fiscal situation, we're in a good position. Last year, our GDP growth, Rick, I think you were telling me, was 2.6% here, higher than the US at 2%. But we also, in terms of our fiscal position, have a net debt to GDP at the federal level is only at 20%, which is incredibly low when countries like the US, Japan are over 100. And also the fiscal deficit is tiny. We actually were in surplus for many years until the pandemic response and stimulus, but we had a 1.3% federal deficit. The UK is at 4.7, US is over 6%. So we've got a lot of capacity on the fiscal side to respond. Also on the monetary side, while our growth was one of the highest in the world, our inflation rate at 3.4% in the developed world also was one of the highest. I think the US was only a little bit less at 3.2, but obviously you saw our central bank, the RBA, having to lift interest rates in response to this inflation. Another rate hike expected later today. But what that does give us as well is capacity on the monetary side to respond if the economy needs it. Now, in addition to that, strong, stable economy, the fiscal, the monetary, we also have here the great advantage of our superannuation system, started back in the early 90s, but one of the strongest systems in the world. We're at $4.5 trillion of savings now in this market, and that's the fourth largest in the world, for us not being the fourth largest economy. And the good thing about that is the money gets heavily weighted to investing domestically, so over 20% of it is in these Australian listed markets. And also it's long-term liabilities, so it can take a longer-term perspective when we look at investments, whether it's in listed or unlisted stocks. So that is also a great advantage, I think, that Australia has. We also, in terms of our location, are located in the fastest growing part of the world, and even though China's growth was at 8% now and has fallen to 5%, it's a very strong growth rate, and it's a region needing a lot of what we have to offer. So we're blessed with a lot of natural resources and also tertiary education, these sort of exports. We have a big customer up there. So I think the backdrop before looking at these two specific issues is that we are generally a very well-placed, resilient economy, and especially in times of turmoil, one that people turn to. But turning then to the issues playing out at the moment, and obviously the Middle East conflict is the first of those that I mentioned. The big question there is, what is the duration of this? Because the market, I think, is assuming it will resolve swiftly. And you can see that in the fact, as I said, as economies, global equity markets are still very strong, driven by things like AI, infrastructure investment. And the oil curve is in backwardation, so people are expecting this to smooth quickly, but it's very uncertain. What Australia is proving, actually, particularly just over the last few weeks, it's evolving, that we, being a country with small demand and being a wealthy country, the government is managing to work with the private sector to source what commodities are available for us. So on the energy side, working with companies like Ampol and Viva, Aussie-listed companies, to procure the energy we need. And at the moment, our reserves for diesel, petrol, jet fuel, they're sitting at above where the conflict began. So it's showing we can respond. Equally, in terms of fertilisers, Incitec Pivot has been able to deal with partners in Asia and Indonesia to source us urea. And Export Finance Australia is supporting in that, so the government is stepping up and giving them a backstop if the price comes off in the forward curve to cover them in terms of what they've had to commit in payment. We also benefit from the fact that we're sourcing a lot of these commodities from Asia, where they source from the Middle East, they refine, they deliver to us. And because we have LNG, we have a bit of a position as well to prioritise our needs. And we can diversify. We literally are getting things from places like Nigeria. So I think Australia is well positioned through this. And we're not likely to have an availability shock. What we're likely probably to have is a price shock if this situation persists. Technology is driving change even faster than it ever has before, agentic AI, and it's very hard to call who the tech winners and losers are going to be. But one thing that is certain is that the demand for compute is going to surge, not just in Australia, but in all communities, and that is going to mean demand for infrastructure is going to surge. So yes, it's data centres, but it's also fibre optic networks, cabling, it's things like energy, it's cooling, it's also critical minerals for things like chips, batteries for grid storage, lithium, copper, rare earths. These are things that demand is also going to pick up. And Australia is well positioned to deliver on that. We also have some great tech companies, and they are positioned well with large, diverse customer bases, the sort of things that will position them to succeed. Proprietary data that can benefit from AI enablement for development, entrenched user models, etc., that they have with their customers, deeply entrenched. So there'll be some that'll do well, and as you listen to them in detail over the next 3 days, hopefully you can pick up a lot of insights. I guess overall, again, in terms of AI, while there's challenge, there's opportunity, and especially as you look at Australia, there's opportunity for Australia in terms of generally how this country is positioned, in terms of where we are, in terms of energy and our ability to respond, and that indeed possibly step up and help respond to the rest of the world's needs, and in terms of AI and what we have to offer. Now, to deliver on this, obviously, all the corporates you'll be hearing from have got to work on this. We've got to come together, and we have to come together with government as well. And it's great to see the government thinking a bit more medium term about the things we need to do to attract that capital, competing with the rest of the world. Regulatory issues, permitting, all of that, the nimbleness of the economy, catalysing capital from government, looking to partner with the private sector on that. And on behalf of Macquarie, just wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone coming here to present as a corporate, but also to come and listen and to share perspectives and hopefully contribute to the health of the Aussie market as well as to your own businesses. So thank you very much, and I wish you a great 3 days.